Welcome to The Aspiring Kryptonians, a podcast for Superman fans, hosted by Superman fans and focused around all things, you guessed it, Superman. After all, we are aspiring Kryptonians. From comics, TV, film and animation, each week we discuss our thoughts on the latest releases, news and even some retrospective reviews. So without further ado, let's get the show on the road. Hello and welcome to episode 10 of the Aspiring Kryptonians podcast with me, Tasmin, and the rest of the team, Evan and Ashley.
Hello.
Hi guys.
This week we're going to talk about all of the news from DC that was revealed over the past few weeks. We're also going to catch up on the comics, including Superman Red and Blue issue 3, Batman Superman 18, and Action Comics 1031. And to round things up, we'll also discuss our thoughts on episodes 6 and 7 of Superman Lois, which we're very glad is back. We have a lot to unpack, so we'll get stuck in and we'll kick off with the massive news that we've had over the past few weeks. I know Evan's very excited about this one, so we'll start with the Superman animated series that's been announced. So the show is titled My Adventures with Superman and will launch on HBO Max and Cartoon Network, which suggests it's sort of aimed towards a slightly younger audience, but yeah, I'm still going to watch it. What do you guys think about this announcement?
Well, Cartoon Network is where we had the Justice League, so I think it'll be great, hopefully. But it's also where we have Teen Titans Go, so hopefully it's the former, not the latter. But yeah, I'm so excited. Like, to me, I would be okay if we never had any more live action anything Superman.
Really?
It was just all cartoons, because there should always be a Superman cartoon at all times.
I don't know if I'd like it to be just cartoons, but I agree there should always be a cartoon version of Superman, because it's sort of bringing in a new audience, because you've got the younger people that are going to watch that rather like over the films and stuff. So yeah, no, I'm excited about this. But yeah, according to the sources, the show's already been picked up for 2 series, which shows how much confidence they've got in it already, which is good. The show itself will follow Clark, Lois and Jimmy when they're in their 20s, following their action-packed comedic and romantic adventures. So yeah, have you seen the casting and the animation style for this one, or so far?
Yeah, I've seen a look at the animation style. When I first saw it, it kind of reminded me of that young Batman animated series they were batting around a few years back. In terms of artwork, I mean. It looked quite fresh. Artwork that we'd never seen before, a little bit anime perhaps. So it kind of reminded me of that, not in terms of the storyline, of course, because these guys are going to be in their 20s as opposed to in their school, but it kind of reminded me of that. And yeah, anything that kind of shows Superman in a different period to what we're accustomed to, because at the moment in the comics, he's obviously very much established and even maybe passing the mantle on. Yeah. So it's actually quite cool to go back to 20s, his early 20s, where he's still not quite the finished article. That is exciting to me, still trying to work out the man that he's supposed to become.
Yeah, definitely.
More exciting to me is that it's a younger Lois, because I feel like we hardly ever see that, except maybe in Smallville, where she's just kind of like this spunky firecracker person, and she hasn't mellowed at all, and we get to see the very first things of her relationship. To me, the art style reminds me of the Daily Planet files. Have you guys ever heard of that?
No.
I'm familiar with.
That is like, I don't know exactly what to call it. It's like fan art, but it's also I think they made it as like a pitch for a show. And I don't know the artist's actual name. They go by the orange one on DeviantArt. I don't know what that is about, but let me see if I can share my screen and show you guys this here. I can't, because Tasmin won't let me.
Oh, sorry, I'm the host. I'm not even going to mess around with the buttons either, because I'm going to end up canceling the recording or something.
Yes, I will. But if you can later, everybody watching or listening, look up the Daily Planet Files art by the orange one. It's really cool, and it really reminds me of that.
I've seen a few sort of pictures where well, I don't know, maybe it's what you're talking about or whether it's the same kind of designs, but they look very similar to what's included or what we've seen so far. But I don't know who the artist is, but I've seen a lineup of characters and people were kind of trying to guess who they were. But yeah, this, for me, it reminds me of Pokemon, and that's down to the sort of anime style, like you said, Ashley, and it's, I don't know, the facial expressions and that sort of stuff, it just reminds me of that, which coming from me is a huge compliment because I spent most of my childhood obsessing over Pokemon and collecting all the cards, so I don't mind that at all. I've seen a few people have sort of, well, I've seen a lot of uproar to the fact that Jimmy is wearing a tie and not a bow tie, which seems a little petty, but they've got a good point.
Yeah, I mean, bow ties are so in now as well, aren't they? I mean, you go to any kind of Starbucks or Costa Coffees, and there's bound to be someone serving you with a bow tie and suspenders.
I did not even notice he was wearing not a bow tie. I thought he was wearing a bow tie.
No, but yeah, with regards to the cast, we've got 2 announcements so far, and that's for the roles of Clark Kent and Superman and Lois Lane. So firstly, Clark Kent will be voiced by Jack Quaid, son of Dennis Quaid and the star from The Boys, which I love that series. Alice Lee will voice Lois Lane, and to be honest, I'm not really familiar with her at all, but I'm excited to see what she brings to the table. I've been following on social media since the announcement, and she seems pretty cool. So yeah, should be good.
Great.
What do you guys think of the casting? Are you familiar with Jack Quaid and Alice Lee?
Yeah, Jack Quaid is absolutely killing it on The Boys, literally. He's great. He's great. I was a fan of his dad's. You know, Inner Space is one of my favorite movies of all time. And Jack is just really, he's doing a lot of eclectic work at the moment. I mean, he's kind of doing, staying in the genre, because he's also doing Lower Decks, if I believe, the Star Trek
I saw something
animation. So he's kind of like got some pedigree now for doing voice acting. So I'm all in. Not too familiar with the actress who's going to be doing Lois though. So that's exciting because some new blood, some new voices in your ears can never be a bad thing.
Sadly we don't really know anything else about the show in terms of the rest of the cast and when it's set to air, but I'm sure we're going to get an in-depth look at DC, during DC Fandom later this year. So
hopefully a trailer or poster or
some more images, character designs, because it looks like on the lineup that I saw, I'm not sure if it is actually official and to do with this series, but it looked like Natasha Irons was on there. So hopefully that is true and we get all of those characters as well. But speaking of voice cast, it looks like DC's Legion of Super Pets has found its Krypto the Superdog. I have to say, this was the news I was not expecting to see or hear ever. And the film's been pretty sort of low-key up until now, because it did debut at DC Fandom last year, but it was just a very slight tease and you kind of had to search for it to be able to see it. But yeah, I have no words for it, but Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson will be voicing Krypto. But yeah, something I'd never put together, but I'm kind of glad it's him because it sort of opens it up to a brand new audience and he's really good at building hype for stuff, even if it is terrible, like Jumanji. I wasn't a big fan of those films, but the hype that he built for those sort of sold them.
Didn't like Jumanji?
Like the original one, but not the new ones.
I thought they were funny. Yeah, I can see it. I can see him voicing this character.
Yeah,
I'm still kind of sad that this movie exists. If we're gonna make a DC movie, it doesn't have to be the Super Pets.
I'm all for it.
Oh, yeah, but I guess I'm gonna watch it either way. So
yeah, but yeah, we don't really know who else has been cast, but The Rock has promised that it's going to be a star-studded event. So yeah, there's going to be some really big names in this. And yeah, I'm just sort of eager to know who they are. But it's also being, well, he's voicing the character, but he's also producing the film with his company 7 Bucks. So he's kind of got quite a lot of fingers and a lot of pots to DC, hasn't he? He's sort of Black Adam, producing this, voicing the character. So maybe we'll get a Superman cameo.
I think this is fantastic news. The Rock, I mean, I come from like a wrestling fan background, so you know, The Rock now seems to have, he's like reaching new echelons where now you know, these kinds of projects, you know, he can choose what he wants to do now.
Yeah.
He's so established. His name is so powerful, and his reach is so vast. He can now pick and choose any kind of project he wants. You know, he's entrenched in television with is it Ballers? He's obviously entrenched in movies with, you know,
He's
the
got his own
myriad of films
series as well,
coming
hasn't
out.
he? Young
Yeah, he's
Rock.
a young. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, this guy can really do anything he wants, and so
Yeah.
that's kind of like, I was surprised, obviously, to hear about this casting, but at the same time, I wasn't. This is the type of thing The Rock can do now.
Yeah.
Just out of interest, guys, The Rock is one of my favorite wrestlers, and he's done such a good job of becoming a movie star. What is your favorite Rock movie, or Dwayne The Rock Johnson movie?
Oh, I
Easy.
can't even go on.
The Rundown. Have you ever seen The Rundown?
Yes, with Sean William Scott, I believe.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
One of his early movies. I
Yeah.
love that movie. It's so funny.
I don't know. I don't think I could name that many. I know he's in loads and loads of films. I'm not a big fan of the Fast and Furious films, so it's definitely not going to be those. But
You like
there's
Moana?
one where I can't even remember what it's called, but he is really fat when he's at school, and then obviously when they go back, he's ripped. And it's with Kevin Hart. That one's quite funny.
Oh, Central Intelligence.
Yeah, that was funny. That's the first one that comes to my head, but I'm sure he's got some of loads of other great films under his belt, and I like Fighting with My Family as well. He's kind of does a cameo in that. But going back to the super pets, so according to the article from Variety, the film sort of centers around Krypto, who teams up with a flying cat to stop crime while Superman is on vacation. So firstly, I've got a few things to say about that. So firstly, would Superman really leave Krypto the superdog in charge of Metropolis when there are other heroes that he can rely on? Not to say that Krypto can't handle it, but it just seems a bit crazy to me. Secondly,
it depends on if we're in the 50s or not.
I suppose. Secondly, put some respect on Streaky the Supercat's name. That's obviously who the flying cat is, isn't it? Just put the flying cat. How dare they? Yeah, so from what we've seen, it seems to be aimed at a younger audience, but yeah, you know, I'm going to be first in line to see it at the cinema. Are you guys excited for the film? I know, Evan, you have some restrictions.
I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah.
You know, I'll be there at the theater. I just am like, this is like a Teen Titans Go situation. It's like you were so obsessed with if you could do something, you didn't stop to think if you should. That line from Jurassic Park. Why are we using our resources on Krypto the Superdog the movie when there's so many other DC heroes that we could be doing movies about?
Yeah.
But I'm still gonna watch it.
Yeah.
I watched the animated series.
You've got a point though, but I think they're obviously sort of trying to reach a younger audience, and I think this is probably a good way to go about it, especially since sort of the success of, is it the Secret Life of Pets and that sort of thing? Like that, those films are huge, so I can see where they've gone down that route. But yeah, DC Legion of Super Pets is set for release on the 20th of May 2022, and is written and directed by Jared Stern and co-directed by Sam Levine. And yeah, I'm sure this one's going to have a really big presence at DC fandom.
Yeah.
Next up, Green Lantern casting. Have you heard about this?
I haven't. Like the last time, you are my source.
Oh,
so I'm excited.
Well, I haven't got as much detail on this one, but yeah, so Jeremy Irvine has been cast as Alan Scott for the upcoming HBO Max Green Lantern series. And to be honest, I thought they were going to sort of wait to announce anything else until DC fandom, because it's not too far away, and it seems like it's going to be quite a big front runner for that sort of news. So perhaps we'll see the costumes for that rather than the casting announcements. Yeah. But I'm not familiar with. Oh, go on.
I was just gonna say this looks very interesting because he's a very young guy, and so obviously Alan Scott is young in the past. Are we gonna be doing a Jupiter's Legacy sort of thing?
Well, perhaps.
They have said it's gonna be flashbacks, but I'm also just interested in how it's gonna work because Alan Scott is not connected to the Green Lantern Corps. He's just a separate guy who has the same name.
I don't know.
So I'm interested to see how that'll tie in. Like if the show's Green Lantern Corps and it's about the space cops, Alan Scott really has nothing to do with that. So I'm really interested to see, how they're going to structure the show and how that's all going to fit together.
Yeah.
Agreed. This is cool. I'm more interested, like Evan, in the character more than the casting at the moment, because, like you say, Green Lantern, Alan Scott is traditionally a member of the Justice Society, who was operating in Earth 2. He has a real lineage and pedigree within the DC universe. So this is exciting, and he's not really connected to the Green Lantern Corps, like you say. So this is fascinating. This has just added so many new layers and dimensions to this show. I mean, touching upon this side of the Green Lantern mythology. I mean, even his ring and power battery, I believe, is a magic source more than from the central power battery on Oa. So this is great. This is exciting. You've delivered, Tasmin, no doubt about it. I am pumped.
Well, that's pretty much all the information I've got for you on that. But yeah, I'm not familiar with the actor at all, and I know bits about the character. But you've kind of enlightened me with what you've just said a little bit. But according to IMDb, Jeremy is known for his role in Warhorse and Mamma Mia, both of which I haven't seen. So who knows what it's going to be like? Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think maybe the fact that you said this opens sort of a new dimension to the show, announcing Alan Scott, maybe that's what they wanted to do by announcing this news so soon, rather than other characters that could have been cast earlier, perhaps. Maybe they're trying to open up the can of worms of people guessing.
Alan Scott, I think, in the sort of like the history of DC, had a child who went on to become Jade. But I think in more recent times, Alan Scott is actually gay. So this is great. This is wonderful representation. So I'm pumped. I can't wait for this show now. This is really exciting.
I was gonna say, I think that's definitely one of the reasons that they're including this character, because of the drama you can do with being a secret gay man in the 1940s, because he had to keep it a secret. But yeah, I would be interested to see if they put Jade in here, because I love her, and she dates Kyle Raynor for a while. Gosh. So it'd be sweet if we got Kyle Raynor as well.
Kyle Raynor and girlfriends, though.
I think there's going to be a load of sort of well-known characters to do with the Green Lantern universe in this. I think it's going to be wild. I feel like they're going to go all out with this one.
Well, Jeff Johns and Gary Frank actually done a really beautiful Alan Scott story in the 80th anniversary Green Lantern comic just passed.
Oh, really?
So that would be definitely worth picking up for the listeners, just to get a little idea about what to expect, because that was great, and that was a really good insight into this character. Very, very layered and multifaceted character. So this is great.
Oh, good.
Another interesting thing about him is that his base of operations, his home city, is Gotham. So
yeah,
I don't know if they'll go that far, but that would be neat.
Didn't they say there was going to be a sort of the Batman series as well? I don't know if it was Batman, wasn't it? So maybe, I don't know if that's still happening. I haven't really heard anything since then, but maybe that could be the universe that they're operating within, perhaps. But continuing the DC film and TV news, the next DC animated film has been announced, Injustice. Initial thoughts, go.
I'm excited. Tom Taylor is a writer that I think we've mentioned a bunch of times in recent episodes. We're going to mention him a bunch more, obviously, because of he's going to be writing the new Superman book. Mm-hmm. This is great. This is really good news for me. Tom Taylor is a writer that's had the same kind of trajectory as Tom King and Scott Snyder in recent years, where they've just kind of gone about their business, created really good stories, fan favorite stories, and they've just gone from they're reaching new echelons, with their writing, just getting bigger and better. Yeah. And I loved this book. I love the game. I think there's news of like an Injustice 3 coming out as well. This is great. This is really good. And there's so much inspiration being taken from this series. Even Zach maybe taking a bit for his darker Superman portrayal.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm excited. This is great.
How about you, Evan?
Nah.
I can tell by your face.
I would like it if it follows the story of the first game, where we actually have the real Justice League showing up to fight the bad Justice League from the other dimension, because like the second game, it's just the Injustice world, like, and I don't need that. I don't like that. I like, and one of the reasons is because of this game. I think a lot of people have been like, oh, Superman's finally interesting because he's evil, and I think that's definitely a true thing.
Yeah, that is a premisconception, isn't it?
And I'm like, yeah, and this just keeps perpetuating that. And so I'm just kind of over this story. Like, I just, and I understand that it has some really cool concepts and has some really cool stuff. There's so many other great graphic novels that have yet to be mine, but this one has been, it started as a game, it got a sequel, it's got a comic series, got several comic series.
Yeah,
and now
prequel.
It's getting yeah, and people are basing stuff off of it, like you said, Zack Snyder. So I just think it's over hyped, and I'd rather see something else. But like I said, I'm still gonna watch it.
That's it.
Another thing is if you play the video game, it's basically watching a movie with a little in the middle, so they've already done it.
The cutscenes are tremendous.
Yeah. Like I watched the cutscenes, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
But they've already done it. Like, so.
Yeah, I'm happy about this, but I definitely see what you mean about the evil Superman thing. It does seem to be something that's around quite a lot. But yeah, as much as I love the original really good Superman, I am partial to, I do like to see the evil side of Superman, because it kind of, I've had so many arguments with people where they're like, oh, Superman's boring, he's just too good, he doesn't do anything. And then you sort of show them that and they're like, oh, okay, he's not. I know that shouldn't be the argument that we're having, but it does happen. But I really enjoyed this.
Yeah. I mean, it is sort of justification, isn't it, for like, the way that Batman sometimes behaves in sort of like books like The Tower of Babel, and in the animated series, there was his files about how he can defeat each member of the Justice League. It is justification why he's so apprehensive and is so distrusting of, Superman, because of potentially what he could become. So I like to see there is that tangible evidence, like there is that, this is what happens if Superman gets ticked off.
Yeah.
I'd like that being out there as opposed to it just being kind of like this, could he, it's there. This is where you find it. This is where you find bad Superman. So I am glad it's out there for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, like, this is all that's being tapped nowadays. Like, even if it's not with Superman, you got the boys with Homelander, and then you've got Omni-Man and Invincible. And, it's just, what if Superman was bad? What if Superman was bad? Okay, we get it. Yeah, like, but what if Superman is just Superman, and like, what was that? What does that look like in our modern day context? And I think that's more interesting. Like, we have so many other characters that are already unhinged or anti-heroes, or
definitely,
Darth Vader. But why does it got to be Superman? Batman never turns evil. We never have evil Batman, hardly ever.
Agreed.
Yeah. So I suppose evil Batman would just be kind of like the Joker, wouldn't he? But maybe not as
Nemesis. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Nemesis. But yeah, I admit, in terms of the comics, I've only actually read the prequel for Injustice, which is Year Zero. And like you guys, I've played the game and I played the story mode, so I kind of know roughly what goes on in the comics, and I don't think it's too different. But yeah, Tom Taylor obviously wrote this series and he's killing it right now. He seems to be everywhere, which for me is not a bad thing because I'm a big fan of his. But I'm kind of guessing this animated film is going to be standalone and won't have anything to do with any of the other current animated universe. So I'm guessing we're going to get an all-new voice cast, and probably a director and stuff like that as well, maybe animation style. But
have you guys seen the latest in continuity animated movie, the Justice Society World War II?
Yes.
Have you seen that
I
yet?
haven't, no.
Okay,
it's
we need to talk about it.
Yeah, it was I keep forgetting to put it on my list of topics.
Yeah.
Watch it for next time, Ashley, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll do.
Yeah, it's really good, that. But I hope that this isn't just one animated film and they're going to ram everything into one, because obviously you've got the prequel, you've got Injustice 1, Injustice 2. It will be a bit rushed if they do that, and I think this sort of deserves at least 2 parts, like what they're doing with the Batman Long Halloween at the moment, because that's part
I was
one.
just about to say, does it seem like the DC animated movies, they're coming out thick and fast at the moment? I mean, I remember having to wait some time for like them to drop, but now it's kind of hard to keep up. I mean, the Deathstroke one, that just came out of nowhere.
Yeah,
for me.
I think that was a different studio.
Yeah, and the Soul of the Dragon. I haven't seen that one yet. The Batman.
They're really dropping fast.
Yeah, I think they do like 3 or 4 a year now.
Seems to be more than that though. Yeah. But yeah, if the, because when I did the interview with Mark Miller last year, and I mentioned the Red Son animated film to him, and he had no idea what was going on with it. He didn't even know it was announced. So I wonder if Tom Taylor knows anything about this and whether he's going to be involved, because obviously I hope he is, because then it will be sort of more, what's the word? Accurate in terms of the comic sort of stuff. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting that he didn't have any clue that his story was being adapted. So I wonder if Tom Taylor does.
But sometimes they do vary, don't they? Like the Hush, Batman Hush adaptation wasn't quite for me on point. I thought they could have perhaps done the Jim Lee artwork style like they did for Superman. Was it Supergirl Apocalypse, or was it Batman Superman Apocalypse? Obviously, it was the artwork was Michael Turner's. Yeah. And the original one, Public Enemies, was Ed McGuinness. So I wonder if they'll continue with that.
Well, I think they did that like because they decided to shoehorn that story into the continuity universe that they had going on, you know, so it wasn't like Public Enemies and Apocalypse are kind of like their own standalone adventures, and they're not really in a continuity with other films. But that whole New 52 continuity that started with Justice League War and ended with Apocalypse War, they just shoved it in. It's same with Death of Superman. They made it all in that style too.
Yeah.
It would have been neat to see them do it in like a Dan Jurgens art style.
Mullets and everything.
Yeah.
And finally, from the news side, we've got a brand new DC Black Label series that's just been announced, and that's Superman versus Lobo. The series will be written by Tim Seeley and Sarah Beatty, with art by Mirka Andolfo and colours by Arif Prianto. I've seen the cover and the preview pages for this, and it seems very vibrant and unique. And for a Black Label story, it kind of seems quite cartoonistic and maybe too fun. But it does look very good, and I'm intrigued to see where it goes. Have you guys seen the artwork?
Yes, I have. I love the Black Label series. It just gives the artists and the writers real freedom to just express themselves. And I'm not a Lobo connoisseur by any stretch of the imagination, so I'm excited to be introduced to more of his sort of pocket of the DC universe. This looks great. Really big smash kind of pairing. I wonder if the New 52 Lobo will make an appearance.
You love New 52, don't you?
I love New 52 Lobo.
I don't think he's coming back, man.
Oh man.
What do you think about the announcement, Evan?
Yeah, I'll be interested to read it. I enjoy Lobo in the animated series, where they were under the strict content and practices guidelines in regards to him, so they toned him down from being completely like inappropriate. So I'm wondering if the only reason it's under Black Label is because we want Lobo to be able to swear like a sailor. So who knows? It'll be, or he's also super violent, so it could go, because like Invincible, the show, it looks all bright and cheery and animated, and then it's just horribly violent, so they could be going for a same sort of thing. So
maybe. I love seeing Superman and Lobo together, just simply because they're complete polar opposites, and it just makes for great entertainment. I remember him in Krypton. I know it wasn't obviously Superman, it was his granddaddy, but
he looked great though, didn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he looked great, and he had me in stitches in some moments. I think there's bits where he's sort of chained up in parts where he's been attacked, and he's just like jumping around, just his torso jumping around the floor, sort of abusing people, which made me laugh. So I hope we kind of see some of that in this as well. But there'll be 3 parts or 3 books, and each of them will be 48 pages long, and of course will be aimed to an audience of 17 plus. So based on the synopsis I've read, for me, it's the artwork that sold me on this, because the synopsis kind of sounds pretty lame. It's about a social media god who gets jealous of the attention that Superman and Lobo are getting online.
That's that Mojo, the Mojo verse from X-Men.
That actually sounds pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be funny, and it seems very random. But if they can make 3 issues out of this, then I'm sure there's a lot more to it than that. But
Is it me, or in using wrestling terminology, is Lobo getting a bit of a push? Because obviously he's got the series with Superman. He's obviously got his new book with Crush, Lobo and Crush, his daughter, and he's also in the Justice League Last Ride series. So he's getting a bit of a push, I think.
Yeah, you've got a point there. Perhaps we're going to get some sort of a Lobo series would be pretty good, though, wouldn't it? I think it would be quite enjoyable to watch that. And it will be kind of like DC's version of, like, maybe not Invincible or something like that, but the bad side of the superheroes.
It'd be like a combination of the Mandalorian and Dog the Bounty Hunter.
Yes. I'm here for it. I'll watch it.
He could appear in a Suicide Squad as well, you know?
Oh yeah, he could
That'd be pretty cool.
I mean,
I doubt it, but that'd be pretty cool.
He'd be the best member of the Suicide Squad because he can't die.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Good point. Good point.
Can't kill him.
The miniseries are going to have a physical release starting the 24th of August. We don't actually have that long to wait, and it's going to be in the DC Prestige Plus format, so they're not the standard comic sizes, which I'm a big fan of, the Prestige format ones. Yeah. We'll cover it on the site, of course, so whoever wants to take it will take the series. But yeah, like I said, the synopsis doesn't sound that great to me, but I'll definitely give it a chance, and that's mostly based on the artwork, because I really like the style. And Superman and Lobo together, I just like seeing them together because they're just so different.
Agreed.
Moving on to the comic books from the past few weeks, because we've missed a few. I think it's been 2 weeks worth of comics that we've got to catch up on now, possibly. So I'm going to issue a spoiler warning from here onwards, because we're going to be discussing the rest of this week's comics this week's topics in a lot of detail. So if you haven't watched, seen, or read these topics, then please don't listen to anything else. To wait until you've done it. We'll start with Batman Superman 18, which is written by Jean Luen Yang. I'm going to start with the covers because I love the covers for this. I know it's hard to cover covers on the podcast because you can't really see what we're talking about, but yeah, if you haven't, please go and have a look at them because they're both incredible. So the first one, we have a standard cover by Ivan Rice, and it's pretty much got, is it auteur 10? I'm not sure how to pronounce his.
Yeah, I'm a bit because I reviewed that for the site, so I'm a little bit confused myself. Auteur, maybe.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So he's obviously the bad guy who's sort of wrapped in film cells on the cover of this, but I just think it's really clever, and I love the detail on it. So for me, Ivan Rice can do no wrong, and it kind of links in with the way that they structure the panels on the inside of the comic, which I like.
Yeah, this has been just like one of my favorite comics this year, really. You remember the big absolute editions that you can buy in your local comic book shop? You've got to pay a bit more, kind of £100, $100. This needs to be collected as an absolute edition. This book just looks visually. Oh man! Well, I think it's going to be. Is it 4? Maybe we get in, because obviously there was that one that we spoke about the other week where it's the cowboy cover. Kind of like Batman and Superman look like they're. So maybe 4 issues, could be 3. I definitely think it is 4 though. Yeah, collect that bad boy up as an absolute edition, because just the interiors are just amazing, and the story is great. I mean, it can get a bit complex, so I like the way that the writer continually tries to keep the audience abreast of what's going on. But I'm just blown away by the artwork. This thing is just a work of
agreed.
art.
It is. The variant cover for this one as well is by Simone Bianchi, and it's gorgeous. I love the colors in the sky, the poses. I love everything about it, and that's a piece. Obviously, I've got the cover already, but I'm hoping to get some sort of poster of it to hang on the wall because I really love it.
It's great.
But this is another great issue, and this series sort of really shows the imagination that this creative team have got, because it's so different and so unlike anything that I've read before. I'm not sure about you guys, but yeah, I'm really enjoying it, and I'm especially loving the sort of Elseworld feeling to it, because it's a complete twist on all the characters that we know. Obviously, we've got characters included that aren't normally included in these sort of stories to do with the characters, and then you've got sort of things like Bane being Alfred, and it's just crazy. But I love it. So in this issue, Superman, Batman, and I think it's Lois, well, there's quite a few of them, but they sort of find the missing links to what's going on and manage to maneuver between the two worlds and the two locations. They find Lex Luthor as a captor, and he tells them that Martha is dealing weapons between dimensions, and they believe that this is the link to everything that's happening.
This is definitely the issue that gets blown wide open.
Yeah.
You know, this is the one where you kind of like get all the light is finally shed, and you just get a real good understanding of, you know, the characters' motivations, which I was kind of getting a bit lost, certainly in the issue before this one, but this one just blew it wide open, and I can't wait for the next issue, because I think we're going to get some answers that also link back to what is happening in Earth Zero, because obviously Batman and Superman are aboard. I believe it's Batman's satellite that's been turned into the auteur's kind of archive of the multiversal archive. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the two finally merge.
Yeah. There was a moment in particular that made me laugh, and it sort of felt a bit like a nod to Batman versus Superman, the film. Robin mentions that the Wayne security robots were designed by Martha, and it's all sort of copying and that sort of stuff. And then Batman replies with, "What did you say about Martha?" Which made me laugh. It's probably nothing to do with that, but that's the first thing that popped into my head. But I really like the banter between Superman and Batman in this, because obviously in this one they're kind of having to get to know each other and trust each other all over again. So I'm quite enjoying that. And we've seen it in I think it was in the first issue from this arc, where he thought he thought he had a jetpack on or something like that. I like that, because it's kind of underestimating each other, which is quite funny.
Yeah, I liked it in this issue where Batman runs into Martha. I have to admit, I am a big fan of when Batman has anything to do with his parents brought up. You know, from Mask of the Phantasm, where he's in front of the grave marker and he's sort of saying, "I wasn't expecting to find love, you know, it doesn't hurt so much anymore," to when he receives the note from Barry at the end of Flashpoint. Anything where Batman has anything to do with his parents, Martha, Thomas, I'm a goner. So when he came face to face with his mum, it hit me in the feels big time. That was a beautiful moment, even though it didn't go off quite so well.
Yeah,
in a very pleasant meeting.
Yeah, I think this one's like a real play on the other characters' emotions. Obviously, when Superman's in Batman's world, he doesn't even exist, and when Batman's in Superman's world, he's meeting his mom, who's obviously deceased in his world, and she's got a gun to his head. So yeah, it definitely plays on their emotions, I think. But in this series, I think maybe I'm overthinking this, but you know, Martha keeps referring to Bruce as Brucey. So I've typed that a few times, so I'm referring to him as Brucey. But there was a mention that he could be Robin, because Robin sees him and says, that's me. Or was I overthinking that, and did I read that wrong?
Not familiar with that. Obviously so it's the World of Tomorrow, because I've done the review, so I keep on having to type World of Tomorrow.
Yeah, World of Night. Yeah.
Yes, right. So obviously Brucey is kind of like, he's not obviously had the trauma of you know, well, Dad's dead, isn't he? But he's still very much like a mummy's boy.
Yeah. So
he's always kind of behind the Martha, who's this very strong female kind of character, very driven. I wrote in the review, you know, she's got such she'll go to any lengths to see her goal come to fruition. Bruce is very much kind of like still attached to the apron strings. So
Yeah.
I'm not too sure about the whole Robin. I can't remember. I'd have to go back.
It was in the same scene. So when it's when Martha has the gun to Batman, and Robin takes him down. When he sort of clocks onto Bruce, he says something, and I'm sure he says it something like, "He looks like me," or that's me. So
Interesting.
I don't know. Maybe it's one of those things that is just nothing, and I'm just blowing it way out of proportion.
Well, it is a seriously complex storyline, that's for sure. I mean, this definitely reminds me of a series, an issue that featured back in the Batman Superman story arc, title from 2004 that Ed McGuinness and Jeff Loeb started. This reminds me of that series.
Yeah.
A lot, for sure, where they just like let the creators just completely go crazy, have fun. This isn't entirely entrenched in continuity, so just go for it. And that's what this feels like. So I can appreciate there was a bit of confusion for me as well. Multiple appearances of different characters, like there are Lex Luthors all over the show.
Yeah.
In this one, so it's definitely, I can see what you mean, but I'll go back on that because I like little nuggets.
I'm gonna go back on it as well because I've probably just blown it way out of proportion, but yeah, it's just something that I picked up on. But in this, I'm sorry, Evan, because obviously you said at the beginning that you haven't read this, and we're just completely tearing it apart for you.
No, it's fine. Like I told everybody before we started recording, to my shame, I forgot to read Action and Batman v Superman this week, so I can't comment.
This is your punishment. I'm joking. So one of the sort of spoilerific thing that I wanted to bring up, and you mentioned all the different characters that are being thrown into this. Was Brucey, or did he end up being Bizarro?
I thought it was an amalgamation of like Bizarro and Two-Face, because half of his face seems to be sort of like, sort of mangled, and he started talking like Bizarro. And I tell you one thing for nothing, I hate reading Bizarro text.
Oh, same.
I absolutely can't stand it. I was reading an issue the other day, and it was killing me. But it definitely was an amalgamation, I thought, of Two-Face and Bizarro. He was very big and very brutish. I think his kind of skin color kind of went more pale as well. So, definitely. Yeah, you're right there.
Going back to what you were saying about Bizarro, I hate reading. I love the character and I love everything about him, but I cannot. It takes me like twice the time to read the comic if it's him. And I think there was a Bizarro series. Oh, I can't even think of. I know Gustavo Duarte did the art. I can't even think who the writer was. But it was just called Bizarro. It came out sort of in the early 2000s, and pretty much the whole of the series is 6 issues, and it's all like that. So it just took me forever to read it, but it was really good. But it's just hard to read.
I think
he was in.
Sorry, I think I've mentioned this before, but I find that people, when they write Bizarro, they can't, like when they either do the backwards speak or they just give them broken English, like in the animated series, just broken English, and I like that. But when you try to do the backwards thing, like even when they try to do it, they don't follow their own rules, and it's like inconsistently opposite, So
or they sort of go overboard, and everything is sort of backwards when it doesn't need to be.
Well, when Bizarro appeared in Red Hood and the Outlaws, and they smartened him up, I was just so happy because I do like Bizarro a hell of a lot. He's a great character, very sympathetic character. And in Red Hood and the Outlaws with Artemis and Jason Todd, they smarten him up, and he's great in it. He's great. They actually go overboard. Well, not overboard, but he becomes a super genius in that run. If for fans of clicked and everything. So, did you notice also in Superman Batman that the character known as Dr. Atom was revealed to be another Lex Luthor?
No, I didn't notice that.
I didn't notice that.
Well, he's another Lex Luthor. He says he isn't from either of the worlds that were depicted in the.
I just thought they looked very similar. I didn't click that they were the same.
Well, he does say that he is Lex Luthor, and he kind of reminds me of Alexander Luthor from the Crisis books, a bit like Superboy Prime from the Crisis books, where he's a character that is deeply entrenched in the multiverse, and I just feel like this character. I think he's got a lot of importance going forward. He has such a knowledge of what's going on, because he even mentions the Artor and what's happening in Earth Zero at the same time. So that's going to be fascinating as well. Fascinating character. I like characters like that they seem to be omnipotent and have a really vast knowledge of everything that's going on.
Yeah, I'm just really enjoying this series and how sort of random it is, because you really can't. It seems that every issue so far, something they've thrown a spanner in the works. So we've got the Bizarro Two-Face kind of thing. We've got Bane being Alfred and all that sort of stuff. So it feels very sort of Silver Age to me as well, because of the sort of antics that they get into, especially Jimmy Olsen in this issue. So yeah, I quite like that, but it's really good, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, me too. And the moment with the car, they all jump into the car, and Batman's like, "How?" And it's like, "Oh yeah, Superman's underneath, flying it away." So
that's a nice panel as well. That was good.
Lots of whimsical moments, and again, just a shout out to the artwork. I love the panels and the film reel and the way it degrades as the story progresses, and it's just so clever.
Yeah, so good. So good. We'll move on to Action Comics 1031, because I don't want to spoil any more of Batman Superman forever, even though we're probably going to slightly spoil this one a little bit too. Sorry. But I'll say this though. I think I like this series and storyline better than the one in the Superman title. I just think, I don't know, there are some really great Superman space stories out there in comics, but for me, I like it when it's sort of a little bit closer to home. It seems like the stakes are a little bit higher, and this one's got crypto in it, so I'm happy. In this issue, Mikhail Yanin was on cover duties with Julian Totino Tedesco doing the variant cover, and they were both great covers, but I have to say, the Totino Tedesco, I love saying his name, Totino Tedesco. That cover that he did for that was incredible. It's got a real golden age vibe to it, and I think that's down to sort of the classic Superman costume that Superman's wearing, the clothes that the crooks are wearing, and also the style of the building. It kind of looks like a 1930s bank robbery taking place. I really like it.
That's great.
Yeah. So this issue picks up where we left off, and Superman and Superboy are continuing their rescue mission. One of the refugees they find is branded with the symbol from the House of El, and spoke a phrase that rang familiar with both Superman and Supergirl. So there's some sort of Kryptonian link there, but we're not quite sure what that is yet. But I'm really intrigued to see what her connection is to them, and I want to know more about her.
Yeah, I think any kind of new characters that have a link to the House of El in such a, like being branded, it has so many different connotations. And we know that the House of El hasn't always been totally altruistic, especially when you think about Jor-El's most recent actions. During Bendis's run, Jor-El done some very questionable things. So I was really that was really interesting to me, like just discovering someone new and their links to the House of El, because of course for so long Superman has been the last son, and then of course we were introduced to Kara, and now Jonathan's going to continue the line. So anyone that has links to the House of El, I find interesting, whether or not they're in a good way or a bad way. It's fascinating, and this issue for me is all about the artwork again, like with Batman Superman. It's tremendous. I can't speak highly enough about the artwork. This thing feels like reading a prestige summer event book. That's what Action finally feels like, a big summer event book. This I felt like when I read this series, it feels like I don't know if read it, our listeners enjoyed it or not, but Marvel's Civil War 2, for better or worse, forget about the story arc. It was a big summer event book. It was very, very pushed, very highly anticipated. David Marquez's artwork in it was simply stunning, and the artist for this is
Daniel Sampere.
Very similar artwork, big big prestige summer event book.
Yeah.
That's what this feels like to me. It just feels prestigious. You get the best writer, you get the best artist, and you go forward. And that's what this is, for sure, without a doubt.
I liked Marvel Civil War too.
I loved it as well. I love David Marquez's artwork. I'm so glad he's over at DC at the moment. He's obviously doing Justice League with Bendis. So I just feel that their artwork is just, I mean, I'm talking about David St. Pierre and I'm talking about Marquez. Their artwork is so crisp and clean and just feels prestigious. This is a prestigious artist on a prestigious book with a prestigious character, writer. It's gold at the moment. I love the series.
Definitely. There's a lot to unpack in this issue and well, the series as a whole, I think. So first of all, we've got sort of the relationship and dynamic between Superman and Superboy, which I'm really enjoying, sort of seeing them together and the way they're working together, because they bring out different qualities in each other, which I like. We've also then got the refugee, this woman who's potentially Kryptonian or linked to Kryptonians in some way, and then we've also got the Warzoons, who are sort of prisoners of Atlanteans at the moment, and so they're wrapped in chains and sort of looking for a fight with Superman. And because there's so much going on, I think Philip Kennedy Johnson is just handling everything really well, and he's done a really good job of sort of giving each moment and situation a bit of time to shine and really sort of explain what's going on, so the reader is up to date or following the story, if that makes sense. But
I mean, after our interview with him, we've I think like the three of us learned, when he creates a mythology, this guy goes all in. He goes all in on a mythology. He's got every dot, every I dotted, every T crossed. He really goes in deep, and it's like almost like reading a Star Wars encyclopedia where it's just full of knowledge. He's crafted. He's just the way that he cultivates and crafts a storyline and a mythology. He doesn't miss out anything. So I love that. It's an education every time you pick up action at the moment. It really is.
With regards to the Warzoons, there was a particular moment which left me with my jaw on the floor, and that was when I can't remember the name of the person. I'm not sure if we've heard his name, but the main one, or the one we've seen the most, headbutts Superman and literally cracks his whole head open. And it's not like a little wound, it's split down the middle, sort of cracked. So not only does that show how animalistic these Warzoons are, and they literally just want to fight, but it also shows how solid Superman is. Like, he literally smashed his head open and still carried on. So that was a bit of a wow moment for me. And the artwork in that moment as well was amazing. It was really gory, had flecks of blood flying everywhere, and I think that's not what we usually see in a Superman comic, so it was quite refreshing. Well, not refreshing, but it was different to see.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm watching Invincible at the moment, and as Evan pointed out earlier on, there's a little bit of bloodshed in that as well.
A little.
Just a tad.
Yeah.
Just a tad. And that really reminded me of this scene a lot. I've been reading quite a bit of books with bloodshed at the moment. I'm going back on Luther Strode, and that has a lot of bloodshed in it. So it's maybe just picking up on modern times. Things are getting a bit more grittier, and other genres aren't afraid to show a bit of blood. So go for it. I mean, if it's a good good mechanism to show how wild this race is, or these new peoples, then for all means, that was definitely a wow moment for me. Definitely a shocking as well. Kind of reminded me of Justice League when Superman headbutts Diana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The same sort of force. With regards to the potentially Kryptonian refugee, we kind of get to know her quite a lot in this, but then there are still so many sort of questions that need to be answered about her. So we don't really know who she is, but we know why she's been sent there and by who. I'm not going to go into that because I feel like, well, we don't need to explain.
We don't want to upset Evan either.
Yeah. But if I'm correct, this is going to be the link between this series and Worlds of War. So in our interview, with Philip, he said about the importance of the chains and all that sort of stuff. And this issue made a point of the chains and why. But they didn't specify why they're important, but we know that they are important because they kind of refuse to take them off despite countless efforts from different people, like the Atlanteans. I think Superman tries to as well, and they want to wear them. So for me, that was a bit of a personal payoff because we're seeing some of the stuff that he told us in the interview really start to sort of transpire, which I quite liked.
Yeah.
And I also loved the moment where Superman introduces himself as Clark. And I know we've seen it a few times in this sort of run from Philip Kennedy Johnson before, but it's I don't know, it's just really refreshing for me to see him embrace both of his sides. And that's kind of why I like the whole secret identity reveal thing, because it opens up a whole new level of Superman, and I'm enjoying getting to know that.
Yeah, no, agreed. I really liked. I'm glad that you touched upon the whole, connected to the Future State series, because I wanted, I liked. I mean, I don't just read Superman. I read all of DC. So some of Future State was a miss. Some of it was a hit. I mean, I didn't totally enjoy the Superman of Metropolis, I must say. I did enjoy Worlds of War, and I'm really glad that they are touching upon the events that took place in Future State. It's not just this thing that kind of is acting autonomously in the background somewhere. It is linked up to what we're reading currently. I really like that as a really nice payoff as well, because Future State isn't quite over yet. This week I picked up the Gotham Future State issue. It was a really gorgeous cover with Red Hood on the front, so it's still going, it's still active, and to really touch upon it in this series was really nice. And again, what you spoke about with the way that Clark is kind of handling himself, it's also, it's nice to know that, when Superman or Clark revealed himself in Bendis's run, that wasn't just for Bendis's run. The ramifications are going to be felt in issues to come, and of course there are going to be challenges, and he's going to adapt to how he behaves. He done it for a reason. He outed himself for a reason, and I like to see it bear fruit in the way that he kind of is trying to train himself now with it.
Yeah, and it's just opened up a whole new sort of. There's so many. He's revealed his secret before, but we're so used to seeing him hiding his secret in the comics and stuff. So it just opens up a whole other kettle of worms in terms of stories and feelings and things like that. So it's kind of new, which I quite like. Yeah. But the artwork, like you said before, it's incredible by Daniel Sampere. And I've only ever said this really with Ivan Reis's artwork, but Daniel is fast becoming one of my favorite Superman artists, even though I've only seen his work in these 3 issues. It's incredible. The detail on every panel, the background, every facial expression, costume, everything, incredible. My favorite part in terms of artwork was there was a panel where you saw Superman's silhouette, which was obviously black, and then you just saw the emblem and the red cape colored, which was, it was just gave me the whole beacon of hope vibes. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I got chills when I saw that. Actually, took me right back to that's just I mean, it's just the Shield is so. I mean, we could probably do a whole podcast on the Shield and what it means to people, and just to see it. I mean, like it's that emblem. It transcends even knowing who Superman really is or understanding who he is. Kids know what that emblem means, who it belongs to, and to see it in such a way, it's love it. And I'm a visual guy, and this book feels, like I said before, this book feels like a big summer event book, thanks to Daniel Sampere's artwork. So it's magnificent. Loving this series. Yeah,
looking forward to reading more of this one. And finally, which we've all actually you haven't read this one, I don't think. Superman Red and Blue issue 3, but at least Evan can get involved with the issue talking now.
I read this one.
So firstly, this one had 3 great covers this time round. There was no sort of weird and wonderful artwork. They were all solid, really good pieces. One was by Paul Rope, one by Derek Chu, and the other one was by John Paul Leon, which was my favorite. Leon, not Leon. It was quite bittersweet because obviously he passed away a few weeks ago, just before the release of that issue. So it's kind of got a whole new level to it, and it's just a really good cover. Yeah, definitely. So once again, we'll go sort of story by story rather than reviewing the issue as a whole, because they are 5 completely different teams and completely different stories. The first one was titled Deadline and was written by Jesse J. Holland with art by Laura Braga and colors by Hi-Fi. This one sort of featured Clark looking like he was struggling to hit not 1 but 2 deadlines. So the first one was a deadline with Perry White, and the other one was lunch with his friends Bruce and Diana. So it basically featured Wonder Woman doubting Superman quite a lot in this, actually, which I was quite surprised to see. But yeah, so
I like that.
Say again?
I said I like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
She doubts that he'll be able to make it to dinner on time.
Yeah. And obviously he's got these 2 deadlines already, and then as he's carrying out those deadlines, loads of the stuff gets thrown in his way, sort of saving the world and people of Metropolis. But it was a nice little story. For me, I would have thought it would have been Batman to be the one to doubt him more than Wonder Woman. But yeah, the artwork was great. I'm a big fan of Laura Braga anyway. I've got her on social media and I really like what she puts out. So it was nice to see her take on Superman. What did you think of this one?
I like this one a lot. The art's great. It's solid. Again, they have used the red from the red and blue to color the skin tones naturally, which is cheating. And
it should have been blue.
I love Wonder Woman's dress in this because they're all in their civilian clothes. That's a cool dress for her. And yeah, it's just a fun little story because he's balancing his life as Clark and his life as Superman. And it's great because Wonder Woman's making all her assumptions on Superman, and Bruce is like, you know Superman, but I know Clark. You know, and I know what's gonna happen. I thought that was cool. Yeah. I said the art is awesome, but there's this one panel where Superman is using what appears to be a fire hydrant to shoot water to put out a fire. That is not how fire hydrants work. That's not how it works.
Oh yeah.
What is a fire hydrant, Evan? For
a fire hydrant viewers? It's a little like metal thing that comes out of the street, and it's what firemen come over and they put the hoses into. They connect the hoses to the fire hydrant. So the hose is what shoots the water, not the hydrant itself. So well, maybe someone from the UK illustrated.
Yeah, I'm not sure where Laura Braga is from actually, but maybe she's maybe not familiar with how they work, because I didn't have a clue either, to be honest. So I was like, really? That's a nice panel. One thing I liked about this story is that they addressed something that I've thought about quite a lot before. So especially in the old comics, this happens, but crooks tend to hide stuff in lead so that Superman can't find it because it's the one thing that he can't see. Mostly bombs and stuff, obviously they don't want him to find, but this happens quite a lot in the Golden Age actually. But when you think about it, wouldn't that stick out to him more because it is the one thing that he can't see through, so he can literally see through everything else, and then there'll just be one box or whatever it is they've hidden in lead.
Okay, so that scene, they like basically took the dialogue from Superman #9 in John Byrne's run, because he explains exactly that way in that episode, and they do the same thing. It's like the same scene. So I don't know if that's a coincidence or an homage, but I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, I obviously haven't got to that one yet, but yeah, it happens a lot in Golden Age comics, and I'm just like, surely that's more obvious. Obviously, depending on what it is, if he's hiding sort of a letter or something, then obviously Superman can't read it. But yeah, they tend to hide bombs, like, oh, you can't find it, and yeah, he can. The second story, and I have no idea how to say this because it has a percentage mark in the title, so I'm going to go for Kilgore City. We'll go with that. But it's written and illustrated by Michael Fife. So Superman and some of the members of the Justice League take on a number of threats, and during that time they each sort of have heart-to-hearts with one another and really showcase their respect and relationship for each other. which was quite nice. This one's all about teamwork and the importance of nurturing that. For me, it wasn't the best story out of the bunch, but it was all right.
I'm actually not familiar with Kilgore as a
No, me neither.
character. I'm pretty sure he's an established villain. I just don't remember him. But in this, it was neat because he's like a living machine thing, and he keeps shape shifting into the shape of all of Superman's rogues gallery. So it's a nice little cheat for the artist who wrote it as well, because he's like, I just want to draw all of Superman's bad guys. so we'll have him shapeshift. So it's pretty neat. They've got Doomsday and Cyborg Superman and
that's great.
Brainiac.
Yeah, the artwork on that one sort of reminded me of a kid's sort of book, which isn't a bad thing, but that's what it reminded me of. I quite liked it though, but yeah, like I said, it wasn't my favorite, and I don't really have anything more to say about it, to be honest. I don't know if you have, Evan.
Nope, but the next one is my favorite. Mine
too. So the third story is called A Man Most Saved, and is written by Brandon Thomas with art by Barat Pekmezki. I have to say, this one was my favorite in the issue, and it focuses around a man called Charlie Miles, who is given his account to Cat Grant about how many times he's been saved by Superman, and then obviously the tables are turned where he finds himself saving Superman. I think, well, probably it's more than once, isn't it? I think. But yeah, this story sort of focuses around the message of everything happening for a reason, and I really love that concept to it. I love the little details in this. So obviously Superman takes the time out of his day to go to lunch with Charlie, and they've got a bit of a relationship going now that they've saved each other so many times. But it just shows that Superman, it's not just us that needs Superman, like he needs us too. So I quite like that.
I thought it was fun because this guy is just like, by happenstance, he just keeps getting into situations where Superman has to save him. And so like Superman and him are on like a first name basis. He's like, oh, hey Charlie, the
most unluckiest guy.
Yeah, that's a fun idea for a character. I would not mind at all if that made its way over into the main continuity, kind of like Hbo, where like Hbo's Superman's biggest fan, and this guy is just like, he keeps just getting into trouble and Superman has to save him. But I don't know how he has the record over Lois Lane.
Yeah.
True.
But maybe Lois just doesn't advertise it.
Yeah.
She tries to downplay her relationship, because there's no way this guy beats Lois Lane, because this guy's just living his life, but Lois is like throwing herself into danger again and again and again. Yeah. Another fun thing about this is they show it like from the time he's a child to now he's a middle-aged man, Superman keeps saving him.
Yeah.
And to show the passage of time, they show Superman in different like costumes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
As he's going through the eras of Superman. So he gets saved by classic Superman, black suit Superman, Superman Red from Energy Superman, and then Grant Morrison's t-shirt and rolled up jeans Superman.
Yeah, I love that too. I like that they kind of, obviously those stories aren't in the same universe or continuity normally, are they?
Actually they all get smushed together in the Superman Reborn arc. They all get smushed into the same continuity.
Okay. But yeah, I like that they were all sort of brought together, because I know them completely separately. I've not read that story arc, but yeah, I like that.
I did have a nitpick just because I'm a continuity nerd, where black suit Superman saves him. The only time Superman's ever worn that suit, he came out of the birthing matrix and then flew directly to Machine City to beat Cyborg Superman and then returned to his regular costume. He did not have time to stop a meteor. And when he was in that suit, he didn't have his powers, so he couldn't have stopped the meteor.
Yeah.
Did he call it at least?
Continuity error right there. But I mean, it all got smushed together, so maybe things got rewritten, switched around. So maybe. Sure.
Does he have the mullet in the issue?
Yeah.
Yes, he does have the mullet. And they also made a slight error with the costume because he does not wear silver gloves with the costume. It's his bare hands.
Is it still gauntlets? Does he have gauntlets?
He has gauntlets. He has the
Yeah.
little. Actually, you know what? He might have gloves.
You're questioning yourself now.
Okay, I retract that. He might have gloves, but yeah, he didn't have time to stop a meteor. I'm keeping that one.
Maybe he just kept the suit and just put it on occasionally, just for the sake of it. Yeah,
It was a great looking suit.
Yeah,
it was a good suit. Good suit. The fourth story is titled Something to Hold On To and is written by Nick Spencer with art by Christian Ward. So this one was really sweet and really wholesome story where Superman opened up his Fortress of Solitude to a children's home, and one of their toys turned out to be an invention by Toyman. What I loved about this is the fact that Superman put these children who's had similar beginnings to what he had in the forefront and gave them sort of a day that they'll sort of never forget. He put on like a fun fair kind of thing for them in the fortress, and he turned all these weird little gadgets and stuff into activities for them, which was quite good. There's one where they're using robots to play chess, giant chess, like in Harry Potter when they're on the back of the giant chess pieces kind of thing. I can't remember some of the other.
He gives all of them Legion flight rings so they can fly.
Oh, awesome.
Inside the fortress. That was nice.
Yeah.
There's a funny part where they're like, "What's the Batcave like, Superman?" And he's like, "Damp." Anyway. That's all he says about it. So funny.
We've got a point though.
Yeah, and they do some callbacks to All-Star Superman, where they have that machine that lets you look into your own future, which in regular continuity I think is just ridiculous, but in a crazy Silver Age continuity like Grant Morrison did, sure, why not? What's happening? And then the end is really touching because the toy that one of the kids has, it turned out to be one of Toyman's evil robots, and so Superman has to destroy it. So Superman gives the kid his stuffed animal that his Kryptonian parents put in his rocket.
Oh.
Yeah, that was really sweet.
It made me stop and think, because I'm like, man, that's so nice. Would Superman do that for a random kid, or would he? I
think he would, but
yeah, he would. I know, but it's like,
I was like,
as a dad, I'm just like, as a dad, I'm like, if this is my like heirloom thing from my mom and dad, like the stuffed animal I had when I was a baby, I want to give this kid a new stuffed animal. Am I going to give him this stuffed animal?
Yeah.
Or am I going to save this for my own child?
Yeah.
So yeah, just stop made me think about that. Surely if you have a machine in your fortress that lets you see into your own future, you have a stuffed animal maker somewhere in the fortress.
Yeah, you got to build a bear somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it made me think sort of, would I do that? And the answer to that is no. I don't consider myself to be a villain, but I'm not that nice.
Like if it's something that you can re-get, here's if I can go get another one.
It's a sentimental value, isn't it?
That's Dad gave you from Krypton. It's one of the last things you have from not only your parents but your people.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. The fifth and final story is titled Little Star and is written and illustrated by James Stokoe. I'm not sure if I said his name correctly, but I gave it a shot. Superman basically heads into space to tackle a meteor as it falls towards Earth, and as he gets closer, he sees that it's not a meteor at all, and it's some sort of creature. I liked it in this one how sort of Superman sympathized with something so alien and sort of terrifying to look at, rather than judging it on based on the way it looks. So instead of it launching an attack, he kind of takes the time to understand what it needs and what it wants and helps it along its way. So that was quite nice.
Because wasn't it a baby?
Yeah, I think so.
Thing, and but it's huge,
Yeah,
it's lost from its pod. Superman makes a questionable moral decision in this one. What he does, he figures out that the little guy, I guess, is too hot because he's supposed to not be in a solar system. He's just his creatures live out where there's no sun.
Mm.
And so to cool him down, he just shoves a bunch of satellites into him. Like, and it's not the fact that he shoved the satellites into this thing. It's the fact that he says to himself, well, these are LexCorp satellites, so it's okay. Like, so he just starts taking them out of the orbit and getting rid of them.
Yeah.
So I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do this for anybody else, but since it's Lex Luthor's satellites, let's go ahead and destroy him.
Imagine all the people that lost their Wi-Fi that day.
I know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Definitely. I will say though, the artwork in this story was my least favorite from the issue. It just felt really bulky, out of proportion, out of place when you compare it to some of the other stories. But yeah, Stokoe draws space really well. The detail on the satellites is incredible. The creature was very detailed and the sort of surrounding atmosphere was great. But when it comes to Superman, that style just didn't work for him.
It's a very kitschy art style. Like it's kind of offbeat.
Yeah.
You'd see it more, I feel like, in indie comics or with a character like Swamp Thing or
Yeah, I think it'll
like
probably work with Swamp Thing a lot better than, I think it's just because it's Superman, it just didn't work for me. But I don't really have anything else to say on that issue or story. Do you, Evan?
Did you guys say that Christian Ward's done the artwork for one of the chapters?
Yeah.
Christian Ward, I've actually had the privilege of meeting him at a convention. He's an amazing artist who needs to do more. His artwork, I think on Black Bolt, he's done a Black Bolt miniseries, Marvel a couple of years back, was absolutely sensational. So, I'm going to pick that issue up. Christian Ward.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Black Bolt. He's one of my favorite Marvel characters.
Yeah, he's done. Yeah, Christian Ward's a great artist.
We'll move. Well, that was the last of the comics from the last few weeks. So we'll move on to the TV stuff. So Superman and Lois is finally back.
Hooray!
Yay! I've been dying to talk about this because I watched it the other day, and my partner obviously doesn't watch it or care about the characters. So I'm like, oh, it's so and so, and he's like, doesn't mean anything to me. So I'm glad to be talking to somebody else about it who appreciates the characters. But yeah, I'm so happy this show is back, and it's sort of really taken me by surprise, I have to say, like the whole series in general, because I think I've said this every time we talk about it, but I just wasn't expecting it to be this good. And yeah, I'm just enjoying every second of it, and I can't wait to see where it goes, especially after what was revealed in episode 7. So we'll kind of talk through what happened in episode 6, and then we'll move on to the more recent stuff. But I think, yeah, most of the discussion points I've picked up on are from episode 7, but there's a few things from episode 6 which I did like. But the episode pretty much picked up straight off where we left off with Tag's attack on Jordan. So Tag basically thinks Jordan is responsible for his powers and blames him, so he ends up kidnapping Sarah to get her to believe him, and obviously that doesn't really go to plan. And then you've got this sort of quite a harsh standoff between him, Superman, and the army, or the government. I'm not sure which department it is, but yeah, that moment sort of blew my mind a little bit, because there was a really great sequence where sort of they were obviously going to use lethal force against Tag, because they shot Superman with kryptonite bullets. So they obviously meant harm, even though Tag's obviously just a teenager. So obviously Superman got a little bit angry, and I think he gets awesome. He gets angry quite a lot in this, don't you think? Like, yeah, he's got real feelings. It feels like he's not completely monotone. You can see when he's angry, because his eyes sort of turn red, which is quite cool. What did you guys think of that? That
standoff was awesome.
Yeah, agreed.
So good. And like, Jordan is the worst. I can't. If my kids are teenagers like that, I'm gonna have a hard time. I'll let you guys know how that goes.
Yeah. Good luck. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Jordan I just find him really annoying. Like, I understand that he can't quite control his powers and he doesn't really know what's going on, but I just don't feel like he deserves the powers at the moment. He's obviously constantly finding ways to go against what his dad and what his brother are saying and what he knows is right or wrong. But he just seems so ungrateful about having these powers.
Well, it's really interesting that, like, I think both of them, like, more so, Jordan messes up, but then of course Jonathan messed up with the underage drinking.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting that when, they're making terrible decisions, but then when the other brother is in trouble, they snap back to loyalty and I'm going to help you out. And that's kind of nice.
Yeah.
But Jordan just keeps making terrible decisions, and he's making them from just a completely emotional spot, and he's not thinking. And I mean, it's a very teenager thing, and he's just like, he's just reacting. He's not proactive at all. He's just reacting to everything. He's reacting poorly.
And even though they're both sort of making mistakes, obviously you mentioned Jonathan with the underage drinking and stuff, but when you put it to scale in terms of what the ramifications are, his Jordans are a lot worse, because he could really hurt somebody. He hurts Jordan. I keep mixing up the two. Jordan hurts Jonathan in the end, and that's his brother. Like, I know he didn't mean to, and they make a point of that, but
well, he was gonna punch that one kid in the face, which would kill him, like completely. That's I don't know. At first I was happy that it was Jordan that got the powers and not the sort of popular one.
Yeah.
But obviously the tables have completely turned, and Jordan is kind of now the popular one, and he's got the powers, and he's making stupid decisions and mistakes and stuff. So I don't know.
You're right. He's ungrateful. He's like, I don't want these, and when I have them, I'm just going to make terrible decisions with them.
Exactly. And I think obviously not everyone's going to see the powers as a gift, because obviously you can see that Jordan's in pain when he's trying to focus in on the superhero and stuff like that. But your brother's having a hard time, you're having a hard time, and it's mostly because of your actions that the hard time is happening, or a lot of the sort of problems is because of Jordan's actions. And I don't know, it's just it's getting a bit old for me, that sort of side for it. And I just want him to sort of get with it and embrace.
In terms of the brothers, I still find it jarring that there are two of them.
Yeah.
Like, I still feel like Jordan is the anomaly, because obviously, there's a lot of fans out there that just watch the show, and that's great. That's great. More eyes on the show. But there are also a lot of fans like us who, like, we are deep in the mythology and the, the weekly kind of continuity. And I still just find it a little bit strange there's two of them. I'm so used to Jonathan in the comics. I'm so used to his voice now. His voice is like quite implanted in my mind now. I know what to expect from him. I know kind of like his arc. I really loved his growth in the Bendis run. There was a couple of really harrowing issues, actually, I remember reviewing. And, when he was in the volcano and Ultraman was abusing him. And, I still find it jarring, there's two of them. And they're not in any, no one's in a suit yet as well.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping that, because at first I thought there was two of them just for the sort of drama value of all of this, because they're sort of fighting off against each other. One has powers, one doesn't, and that kind of thing. But I'm hoping there's more to it, and it's not just that. I hope sort of Jonathan gets something. I don't know. I feel like he's a little bit left out at the moment compared to.
I get a lot of vibes when the arc. I get a lot of vibes. I'm completely going off on a tangent here. I get a lot of vibes from Defenders of the Earth and the story out between Kit and Kurt Walker. I have
no idea what you're talking about.
Don't worry about that, but it's one that turns out to be good and one that turns out to be bad. Just wondering if they're building up for maybe one having a heel turn, a wrestling terminology, going over a heel turn. I'm not sure. That'd be quite interesting down the line.
I was just gonna say, like, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
I mean, Jordan, he's just like, he's making terrible. It's like it's Anakin Skywalker all over again.
Yes.
Just making terrible decisions with your awesome power, and you're gonna make everybody's lives terrible.
Yeah. And there was another great moment in this episode where Jordan's playing football, and I think it's against Metropolis, and there's all this hype between them because it's Smallville versus Metropolis, and that's where they obviously moved out from. And Jordan goes sort of out of control with his heat vision, and he sort of goes on the floor, and he's trying not to let the heat vision out. So Clark runs over and covers his eyes with his hands and tells him to let go, and he basically lasers his hands, and you can he's clearly in pain. Like,
that was awesome.
Yeah, that was really good. But I really like that moment. It just showed sort of that he's willing to do anything to help his sons and also protect the public at the same time. It was just really powerful. And I've seen a lot of arguments on social media about that moment and saying, why didn't he just do that with General Zod in Man of Steel? But the intent is completely different. It's a completely different situation. But yeah, people like to argue, don't they?
I just wanted to touch upon, you touched upon it earlier on, kryptonite bullets. How vile are kryptonite bullets in terms of the connotations behind a kryptonite bullet? You know, the government, the cynicism behind it, and just the pure, to create something to hurt an individual, you know. But I don't know, just the sort of kryptonite bullets really kind of like send a chill up my spine, because it's so menacing, and it's so, what's the word when you're kind of when you think about something and then do it, there's a real kind of
intent,
behind it. So this isn't just something that you've fallen into doing by chance. You know, this is something very methodical, and you've put a lot of manpower behind it to create something. So, I think kryptonite bullets are the worst.
Yeah, but also they made these kryptonite bullets and they're using them, but they didn't know that Superman was going to be sticking up for him like that. So they intended to use those kryptonite bullets on Tag and not Superman. So they're obviously just assuming that because these bullets affect Superman, that they're going to affect everybody. They're kind of just putting it all under one big umbrella, which was a bit harsh. And I think there's a moment where Clark sort of takes it up with General Lane, isn't it, in that episode, saying like sort of talking about the lethal force and stuff like that. We'll move on to episode 7 because that's the best episode.
Game changer.
Series. Complete game changer. So in this episode, we definitely started to get some answers, but at the same time, it also gave me a lot more questions, which I want answering by the end of the series. So first of all, we kind of see Jordan try to adjust to the new power of superhero. I love how Clark tries to help him, but would Clark not already know how to deal with it? Because he's obviously gone through that himself as a child.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think he's trying his best, and you know, sometimes as you know, your parents go through something and they handle it one way and it doesn't work for you, you know, if you're going through the similar situation. So I can understand that. And like, you know, Clark's trying to help and then Jordan just bails on him. Which I reviewed this one, and I think I said when, you know, he bails on him, he's like, no thanks, Dad, I don't want to do this. And then he goes and tries it again later by himself when nobody's watching. And I thought that was a very real moment. That's something a teenager would do, you know, like, I don't want anybody watching me while I do this, you know, I just want to handle it myself. And
there's probably a lot of pressure for him as well, because Superman's obviously, well, it's not perfect, but to everyone who isn't Superman, Superman is perfect, and he's probably trying not to, I don't know, he's probably struggling thinking that he's got to live up to that, and he doesn't want to show him that he's making a mistake or can't quite handle something.
No, I thought my dad was perfect till I was like, you know, 14 or 15. I thought like my dad was like, he's like the pinnacle of, you know, I want to do everything like him. So, you know, I can relate to that a little bit.
My dad is the complete opposite, but hey ho. No, it's fine. But yeah, so he went to get advice from Jor-El, and he was just really panicky, and I don't know, I thought that was a bit odd. I don't know, I just thought
you kind of expect Superman to be infallible and to have all the answers. I know that's not like that's not the real world, but sometimes, you know, when you read the comic books or you watch the shows, that archetype that you already have in your mind of that character, you want to see that. you want to believe that Superman has all the answers.
Mm.
And I guess if this show is like throwing it out there that maybe he doesn't, maybe he needs counseling for himself before he can go on and make a decision in how to. It's real life. It's real world. I suppose they're making Superman more relatable,
Yeah.
or to have the same doubts and fears that we all do.
There's
I'm not a father myself, so Evan, you probably know, and Tasmin, you're going to know as well in the to come. You're going to be different when you have children.
Yeah.
Yep. There's a great series of issues after my very favorite comics event, Our World's at War, where Superman does go to therapy because of all the stuff he's seen. That was a very interesting arc. I think in my review, the Fortress of Solitude was the one problem I had with this episode.
Yeah, I remember reading what you said about it.
It's because it's like they're not even trying. Like it's just an ice cave. It's not even the fortress from Supergirl, was a nice homage to the Richard Donner film. But here it's like you're telling me that the advanced Kryptonian civilization is going to give you a crystal to make yourself a fortress, and it's going to leave you with dirt floors.
You need some carpet.
And there's like no interface. It's just a random block of ice that happens to have a slot for a crystal thing, and there's nothing else in there. And then I always have problems with the Christopher Reeve film version of Jor-El in the Crystals, where he's like, he knows everything. He has an answer for every single eventuality that's going to happen to Superman, even though he has no idea of knowing exactly how Superman's body will react to the yellow sun, and how he's going to coach him through his powers, because he's never gone through it himself, much less a Kryptonian hybrid, grandson. So I'm just like, come on.
The design of the fortress in this reminds me of the design in Smallville as well. It's pretty much
the caves.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. There's not really anything there in terms of design and stuff. So it reminded me of that, to be honest. But in this one, Jonathan finally got his time to shine, despite having his arm broken by an out of control Jordan. He was basically the one who got them out of the whole sort of red sun drama. Or it is red light, it's not really the sun, is it? Towards the end of the episode. And I don't know, I was just really happy for him, because it just goes to show that you don't really need to have superpowers to make a difference. And he pretty much saved both of them in this situation. And I don't know, I just think he's handling this whole situation very well. Like if any of my siblings got superpowers and I didn't, just know that would be the start of my villain origin story. Like I would go,
okay, Lex Luthor.
Yeah, right in my head, not having it. But yeah, he's just
dedicated all these years to Superman, and now I don't have no powers.
It's kind of it was kind of a jerk move to like intentionally make loud noises, he knows his brother's in like serious pain.
But that's like the only way he can kind of, I don't know, he's obviously trying to get some sort of revenge on what he's put him through, and that's probably the only way that he can do damage to him. Because obviously if he hits him, it's not really gonna do much at the moment. But onto the main stuff, which I know we're all dying to talk about. But the episode also revealed that Captain Luthor isn't exactly who he says he is, or well, he isn't him at all. He's probably got he's got so many character names, and I can't remember all of them in this series. He's gone by a load of different names, but the main one we now know is John Henry Irons, which is Steel.
Yeah.
I don't think he's ever called himself Captain Luthor. I think that was only the AI called him. And it also calls Superman that when Superman comes into the thing. So I think he stole Lex Luthor's AI system. Yeah. And AI still thinks it's working for Lex Luthor. So I think that's very interesting. But yes, John Henry Irons, so happy.
Yes. I love the character anyway, from the comics. And yeah, I'm just happy that he's back in live action. I know there was the Shaquille O'Neal thing, which I haven't seen, but it looks terrible. So I think I'm gonna keep it that way.
I remember seeing that.
Yeah.
Very much of his time.
Figures from that.
Have you? This looks like it's going to be a very good take on the character, I think. And and there's a lot more to take on board from the episode, but this is pretty much all I can focus on. So on their world, Lois is dead, who he was married to, and their daughter Natasha Irons has been helping them to get prepared to take down the Superman and the other Supermen that were featured. But do you guys have any idea who they are, the other Supermen? Because I don't.
No, like they all looked like Superman, so I thought like maybe they're clones, or they could just be, you know, a Kryptonian force, like maybe in this Earth, or Superman lied about being the last son of Krypton, and it's all just a ploy to take over this planet after earning everybody's trust. I mean, because he just starts blowing up stuff, like there's no announcement or anything like that. So, yeah, when they before they revealed who the character was, and he's like in bed with Lois, I'm like, nope. I was with Natasha, like, stop it right now. That is Superman's wife.
Yeah, I mean, John Henry Irons is such a cool character, isn't he? I mean, the Steel is very iconic. I mean, sort of like, if I'm not mistaken, he was introduced in the whole Reign of Superman story arc. I mean, this is like a real this is a real prestige kind of Superman character. So to see him on TV, well, in live action form, I can't wait.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the way he looks alone just really captures the imagination of me. I've got a trading card, a Superman trading card, and it's of steel, and he just, it's like something that it's one of my favorite like objects that I've got. It's always on the top of a stack or pile of that stuff. It's just he looks great. Let's just go with the visuals to start with. He looks great, so I cannot wait to see how he looks in this.
Well, we've seen them with. Oh,
go ahead.
I was gonna say we've seen them with the. I was gonna say hammer, but it doesn't sound very.
No, the hammer.
Yeah.
The hammer.
Some mallet.
In the comics, it's just a sledgehammer.
That sounds better.
Mallet.
In the comics, it's just a sledgehammer. Like there's nothing special about it. It's just a sledgehammer.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it makes me a lot happier about his suit thing that we saw.
Yes.
Where, you know, I thought, I was like, oh, this is a departure from the Lex Luthor suit we've already seen, and it looks like the Master Chief, but now it looks, you know, it makes more sense. I like it. It's gray, it's tight, you know, like, and it looks like a steel thing. I will be interested to see, two things I want to see on this guy. I want to see the S shield on his chest, and I want to see him wear a cape, because the only other time he's been on TV was in the Justice League series, and he had neither of those. And in Superman the Animated Series, which is the same continuity. But yeah, I want to see the S shield and the cape eventually.
Yeah, I'm just happy that they're introducing this character again. I think a lot of people have been talking about him recently because of all of the whole Black Superman thing, and they're like, why don't you just adapt this character because he's already there? So even though obviously they probably plan this way in advance, but it seems like a nice time for him to be back, which I'm very happy about. Like I said, there's a lot more to unpack in that episode, but that was all I could think about and talk about, so I don't have anything else to discuss on the episode. I don't know if you guys do.
Not really. I mean, that took
steel, wasn't it?
That took most of the bandwidth right there, and that was great. And I loved, like, he's in the Steelworks in his original Earth, which is his workshop, and he's got Natasha, and she's very comic accurate looking and sounding, and so I think it'll be cool that if we see more of her. I think it'd be great if she joins the teen group, you know. So we got the two boys, Lana's kid, and Natasha. I think that'd be a neat dynamic.
Yeah, they haven't really shown Natasha in that Earth, have they? Because they're only showing her through flashbacks at the moment. So maybe has something happened to her, or she could have already been in the suit, kind of thing.
I did have one other thing. This is the first episode we've really gotten confirmation that this is part of the CW verse. That this mentioned Crisis on Infinite Earth. It mentioned the multiverse. It mentioned that Superman already knows Lex Luthor, you know, and so we've already established that in Supergirl. So good vibes coming from that, because I want to see John Cryer back in this show.
it's good and bad for me because John Cryer was probably one of the highlights of Supergirl recent series anyway. But yeah, I'd like to see the crossover, but I hope they don't change the tone in any way.
Correct. Yes, I agree. But we're gonna get more stuff because John Diggle is coming soon to the show. So that from Arrow. Yeah,
I saw that in your the review you did, but I that's the first I heard of it. I didn't know he was coming. So
no, I heard he was writing an episode of Heroes of Tomorrow, isn't he? I didn't know he was Legends of Tomorrow. Is he writing an episode of Legends or directing an episode of Legends?
I haven't heard.
I don't know.
I didn't know he was going to be appearing in Superman and Lois.
No, I didn't.
That's massive.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens with that, and because there was talk of him. Didn't the end of Arrow sort of hint towards him being Green Lantern?
Yeah. I didn't want to say that, but yeah, that's why he's going into this show.
Okay. So I'm excited now then.
yeah, that's right.
Because with the special effects level that they're doing in the show, it's gonna be cool. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Before I forget, that ending scene from episode 6, where Superman's flying away with Jordan in his arms, to the camera in the sky. I thought that looked so good. That was so cool. Yeah. I love it when Superman flies around and he's like in his farm shirt. Yeah. Love that.
Do you guys think this was the best episode to date so far?
Yeah.
To me, this definitely feels like a show that gets better, sort of like with age. With every episode, the marks gets just a little bit higher. I felt very much this was the best episode so far.
I think so too. I think I just wasn't. I was speculating who Captain Luthor was, because obviously he wasn't who he said he was, and we knew that, but I just wasn't expecting it to be Steel.
This is the best possible person he could have been. It's the best. I
think if anyone would have suggested, oh yeah, he's Steel, and I'm like, get out of here. Of course he's not. But yeah, he is, and very excited.
I think sort of like Steel and like Superboy and Eradicator, they're all very much like the connotations that, within the Superman fan base, they're important characters. They're like milestone characters, and they were part of such a fascinating time in Superman mythology. So much was going on. They were intertwined with so many other characters like Hal Jordan and the destruction of Ghost City, Mongol, Warworld and things like that. These are characters for me that they excite me. So I was super excited to see Steel debut.
Yeah.
John Henry Irons, I should say, debut.
Yeah. I hope this sort of builds hype around the character as well, because the more hype we get from it, the more likely we are to see him in sort of films and stuff, but also maybe even like a spin-off comic series, because I'd be happy to sort of, I know he's appeared in a few of the, what was it? Was it the Batman, Superman previous story arc? He's in that he teams up with Batgirl.
Yes, and he had a big run in Action Comics for the New 52. He was having a relationship with Lana, so he was a big part of that as well. So I don't think that series has done him justice. Yeah, without a shadow of doubt, I would love to see him back to his full glory. And like Evan said, I want to see him with a big old S on his chest, red cape, such important iconography. I want to see that.
Yeah. And finally, we've talked a lot on this episode, and it's quite a long one, so thank you for listening. And if you get into the end, then kudos to you for sticking with us. But last but not least, what have you guys been reading? So this is the moment where we take a bit of time to discuss the comics that we've read this week. It gives us an opportunity to talk about the retro sort of back issues that we love, to catch up on any series that we've missed or haven't covered, but it also allows us a bit of time to go into a bit of detail on the Superman reading order that I'm working on. And I'm going to keep mentioning this every episode. I'm sorry, because it's just taken up my whole life at the moment. So if I have to suffer with it, so do you. I think, go on, Ashley, what have you been reading this week?
So it's one of my favorite Superman origin stories by two of my favorite creators. It's a book that I always kind of go back to, sort of every year. I kind of touch upon this book, either just flicking through various issues or just reading the trade outright. Is Superman Secret Origin by Gary Frank and Jeff Johns.
Nice.
I love this book. this is just quintessential Superman for me in every which way, shape or form. It has my favorite, well, one of my favorite Superman villains in it, Parasite. It touches upon the Legion, and I have a real love of Gary Frank's interpretation of Superman because he bases it off of Christopher Reeves.
Yeah.
And I adore this series. I adore this series so much. It's very comforting. It's a big old hug. This trade paperback or hardback. I've revisited it in hardback. It's a big old hug. It's a big old super hug. I love it. Yeah. So I've been reading Superman Secret Origins.
Nice. I haven't read that for years. How about you, Evan?
I've been reading the Wahaha era of Justice League, where it's in the 80s. It's right after the Crisis reboot, and it's like the roster is Blue Beetle and Batman and Guy Gardner and Fire and Ice and all of them. And I've never read it before. The only issue I've ever read was the crossover with the Death of Superman. But it is hilarious. It's so funny. It's like they've really taken a comedic route with this iteration. I'm really enjoying it. And I'm also in the middle of reading I think it's Justice League Cosmic Odyssey. No, just Cosmic Odyssey.
Yeah.
And it's like it's a 4-part miniseries. And it's dark side centric, and it's drawn by Mike Mignola.
Nice.
Yeah, who does Hellboy, and I guess this is his early days because it's not quite his Hellboy style, but you can see it in there, and it's fantastic. The art, him drawing Superman is awesome. Like I can't believe it. It's so good. And in this story is one of John Stewart Green Lantern's pivotal moments as a character, so that's why I wanted to pick it up and read it.
I was going to ask actually, same sort of goes for you, Ashley. For me, I'm obviously starting from the beginning with Superman comics, so I can read everything. But how do you pick what you read next? Because obviously you've read chunks of eras and things like that. How do you just think, I'm going to read Cosmic Odyssey or whatever else?
Well, I've pretty much read or have a very good understanding of all of Superman post-Crisis. So with DC Infinite, I've been going through and reading, my blank spots. Like there's a run of Superman I haven't read in depth, even though I know what happens. And then so for this, I wanted to read Kyle Raynor Green Lantern because I heard that was very good. I'd never read that before, so I've been reading through all of that. And they reference this moment from Cosmic Odyssey with John Stewart over and over and over again. It's a huge reference point, like villains spawn out of it, all in Kyle Rayner's thing. So I'm like, I need to go back and read this. So that's why I'm reading Cosmic Odyssey. And then I finished Kyle Rayner's thing, and I wanted to go back and read. I want to read Kyle Rayner in the Justice League because I wasn't reading that. And so, but then I'm like, no, I will start back at the very beginning of the Crisis, and I'll just read Justice League straight through, so I'll have more connection with everybody.
Nice. How do you choose, Ashley? Because
so I'm in my early kind of comic collecting career, just fandom. I'm a trade. Career. Oh god, yeah. I'm a trade waiter as a rule. I'm really bad. I even nowadays I pick more comics up than ever, but I still buy them in trade. So I've got quite an extensive library at home of trades. I've just got shelves and shelves and shelves and shelves of trades. So I've just kind of pick one at random, and it's so easy. I love trade waiting. I don't love trade waiting because you have to wait an eternity, but I just love the idea of just picking up a graphic novel and it's got start to finish. Well, not in the 52 because it was very bitty at that point. Yeah, so I do like to pick up and I just want to pick up a graphic novel and have a nice start, middle, and end. So that's kind of what I do. I get inspired a lot by perhaps things that I'm looking forward to. Now I know about Andy Diggle joining Superman and Lois. I go back on some Green Lantern.
Yeah.
He's had a really great run he's been really treated well in Green Lantern at the moment. For the listeners, he's like the head of the Corps. He's the leader. Hal is kind of like a mentor, or he plays like a mentor kind of role. So for the longest time now, John's been the leader of the Corps, and he's led them through some real turbulent times. So Green Lantern's a good one to perhaps for the other listeners and viewers to pick up. So yeah, no, trades. It's all about the trades for me.
Yeah, fair enough. So I've like I said last time, I've been reading a lot, maybe like 2 or 3 issues a day. So I'm not going to go through every single one because some of them aren't really worth mentioning and we'll just be here forever. So I've picked 2 that sort of stuck out to me, and the first one was Action Comics issue 218 from 1956, and Lois and Clark investigate a report that there's a super ape in Africa, and it turns out that the stories are true, and it turns out that it's like obviously a gorilla, but he was a test subject for the Kryptonian rockets that they sent Superman to Earth in, which is very harsh because they're not just like, well, monkey, not that I'm endorsing testing on animals and stuff, but Monk is obviously very intelligent, but this one in particular he can talk, he's got superpowers, all that sort of malarkey. He's just an ape version of Superman, and he obviously knows what's going on, so it seems very harsh that they're testing on such an intelligent animal. And it turns out that he's not the only one, and Superman helps him find the rest of his family, which is quite nice. Yeah. The second one is Superman issue 108 from 1956 as well. So there were 3 stories in this issue, but the final one was my favorite. So Clark visits Metropolis's police women, which probably wouldn't be allowed now because of all of the police officer stuff. But he just visits the police women for some reason for a story, and hears a bomb ticking in the next room with his superhero, and so he has to switch to Superman to make an escape as Clark to stop it from going off and obviously harming them and others. And once the ordeal is over, Clark comes back, and because they're very intelligent women, they start to suspect who he really is. And they kind of give Lois a proper run for her money in terms of the detective work that they put him through. So they really put him through some tests. So they take his fingerprints and all that sort of stuff. They shoot blanks at him to try and scare him to see if he flinches and stuff like that. And then they lock him in a room with one of the guards at a time where Superman's due somewhere else to see if Superman makes the appointment, kind of thing.
Right.
This escalated quickly.
Yeah, it was just it was just really funny. And there's a bit sort of at the end of the panels in that sort of era where there's like a bit of a joke where it's like the end, and there's always some sort of witty one-liner. It's basically Lois saying, how dare they try and defoil Superman's secret when I've been trying for years, and so stuff like that. So it just made me laugh. But yeah, that was really good. So if you haven't read that one, pick it up. But that's the only ones that I had. And I think this is a very long episode and it's very late for us, so you can probably see or hear how delirious we're getting towards the end. But that wraps up this episode of the Aspiring Kryptonians podcast, and we hope to see you next week for episode 11.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thank you all so much for taking the time to listen to this episode and previous episodes in the podcast if you have done so. Remember, if you're enjoying the show so far, please do subscribe, share the podcast with a friend, and most importantly, leave us a review. It's those reviews that really help with our visibility and success, and it only takes you a few moments to leave one. As well as that, if you want to find out more about us, head over to our website www.theaspiringkryptonian.com, and if you want to follow us individually on social media, we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and YouTube, so I'll drop those links in the episode description so you can get to know us a little bit better. A very quick shout out to some other very good Superman related podcasts and accounts that we love. The Last Sons of Krypton podcast, the Krypton Report podcast, and Adam Talking Superman over on Twitter. They have some really great Superman-centric discussions and are always dropping great Superman knowledge, so if you are looking for something similar to our show and our account, please be sure to check them out.